The night before the divorce, I awakened the ability to read minds. Always composed and indifferent, Alvin pretended to focus on his work while secretly glancing at me from the corner of his eye. Is my wife scrolling through her phone? What is she looking at? I want to see too. Divorce papers. I looked at him in confusion, his expression unchanged, but crying inside. No one wants me anymore. Selling a love-struck brain. 90% new. Only used once. Probably won't need it anymore. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. Let's get a divorce. After finishing the meal, Alvin handled work as usual. I was playing with my phone next to him. I said this seemingly calmly, but my other hand kept swiping on the phone screen. Alvin paused his fingers on the keyboard. What did you say? I didn't hear you clearly. He turned around, his eyes fixed intently on me. For some reason, I could actually detect a trace of nervousness on Alvin's perpetually icy expression. Maybe it was just my imagination. I took a deep breath. I said, "Let's get a divorce." Alvin's hand on the armrest tightened instantly but quickly returned to normal. When he spoke again, his voice seemed slightly hoarse, yet his tone betrayed no abnormality. Okay, just as I thought. Alvin agreed without uttering a single word of persuasion, even turning back to handle his work. To say I wasn't disappointed or sad would be a lie. After all, Alvin was the one who occupied my entire youth. I once loved him with unparalleled fervor, fantasizing about growing old together with him. But all my passion was extinguished by these 3 years of cold marriage. Cut your losses in time, Edith. You can't warm Alvin's heart. Then when are you free? Let's go get the divorce certificate. Alvin stared intently at the computer, seemingly diverting just a fraction of his attention to respond to my words. My ID card went missing during my last business trip, and I haven't gotten it reissued yet. Let's talk about it after I get a new one. I frowned. His ID card went missing. Given Alvin's personality, how could he possibly lose his ID card? As I was lost in thought, a sudden voice broke the silence of the room. Whoa. What should I do if my wife wants to divorce me? My wife doesn't want me anymore. No one wants me now. Selling a love-struck brain. 90% new. Only used once. Probably won't need it anymore. This statement left me utterly stunned, taking a long while to regain my composure. This voice is Alvin's, but it's completely different from Alvin's usual self. Alvin is usually calm and composed, never losing his composure. How could he make such a clingy sound? I lied to my wife that my ID card is missing, so maybe we don't have to get divorced. Her memory isn't great, and in a few days she'll probably forget about divorcing me. But what if she remembers? Why does my wife want to divorce me? Woo-woo. The eerie voice continued, but the Alvin in front of him remained stern-faced, lips tightly sealed, focused intently on tapping away at the keyboard. But upon closer inspection, I noticed the computer screen was filled with garbled text. Alvin wasn't actually working at all. Why is my wife staring at me so intently? Did she catch me lying? I didn't want to lie to my wife either. But is she going to leave me? What would I do without my wife? I withdrew my gaze. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Alvin let out a slight sigh, as if relieved. After so many years of marriage, Alvin has never called me wife so intimately. I've always felt Alvin married me only out of a sense of responsibility. After marriage, he was polite yet distant to me. But why did I have to hear his inner thoughts just when I had made up my mind to divorce him? And such explosive thoughts at that. I tentatively suggested, then shall we hold off on the divorce for now? I carefully observed Alvin's expression and actually noticed something unusual. Upon hearing my words, his brows and eyes began to relax, his expression turning calm and composed. But then, Alvin's inner voice echoed in my ears again. Great. My wife isn't divorcing me anymore. I have my wife back. No, I meant not divorcing for now. Didn't Alvin understand what I said? It must be because I've been too busy lately and haven't had time to spend with my wife that she got angry. I need to come home earlier from now on. Alvin sticks to a strict 9-to-5 schedule every day without fail, unlike everyone else in his circle. Recently, the company had a major deal that required finalizing a plan. Alvin changed his off-duty time to 6 o'clock. Could it be that Alvin thought I divorced him because of this? Besides, you working next to me at home is considered keeping me company. Is my wife a little angry? What should I do? What should I do? Damn. Alvin actually noticed I was angry. I thought he always treated me like air. Can I still sleep with my sweet and soft wife today? Huh? What's going on? Isn't it like a clear boundary between us when Alvin and I sleep? But I've always had good sleep quality. Back in school, my roommate said even an earthquake wouldn't wake me up. Does Alvin hold me every time after I fall asleep? The amount of information today is a bit overwhelming. I need some quiet time. Lying in bed, my mind keeps replaying every little detail of my life with Alvin. The first time I met Alvin, I had just started my senior year of high school. He had transferred from out of town, and when the teacher asked him to introduce himself, he simply said, "My name is Alvin." That's it. The boys in class thought he was putting on airs, but it was precisely that one sentence that left me utterly amazed. Because back then I was still a sucker for voices. Besides, the crushes of youth are the most genuine kind of affection, purely about looks, with no regard for anything else. At the time, Alvin stood out way too handsomely among a crowd of greasy-haired, pimply-faced boys. 7 out of 10 girls in the class liked him. I started a childish pursuit of Alvin. Alvin kept rejecting me at first, even showing impatience. But despite this, he never spoke harshly to me. Back then, I had no idea how to read people's expressions. I simply thought if I liked someone, I should pursue them, or else I'd regret it for life. I chased Alvin for half a year. Just before winter break, he suddenly said, "I'm going to Peking University, but you can't get in, Edith. So give up." Indeed, Alvin was one of the top students in the entire province. While I was only average in my school, Peking University was beyond my reach. But at that time I was infatuated with Alvin to the point of obsession. Plus, money makes the mare go. In the second semester of senior year, my dad directly took a semester's leave for me and hired several college entrance exam experts to help me review and highlight key points. I studied day and night without stopping, and finally barely got into University A, the neighboring B university. When I received the admission letter, I excitedly went to find Alvin. "Alvin, although I didn't get into Kyoto University, my school is right next to yours. We can still see each other often in the future." More than a decade has passed, and the vague expression on Alvin's face in my memory suddenly became clear again. He seemed to press his lips together, about to say something. His light-colored eyes filled with a complexity I couldn't understand. But in the end, he didn't say a word, just watched me chatter away beside him. I was fantasizing about our future, and for the first time, he didn't object. After starting university, my pursuit of Alvin became even more intense. Basically, everyone in his department knew there was a pretty girl from the neighboring Beijing Art Institute chasing after him. Alvin stopped refusing to eat meals with me, and he would even help me with papers I couldn't finish. All of this gave me the illusion that we were in a relationship. By chance, I overheard Alvin's classmates joking about Alvin and another girl. In their conversation, it seemed they all believed Alvin and that girl were a match made in heaven, while constantly belittling me in their words. During that time, my family's company was facing problems, and on top of that, I hadn't seen Alvin for a long time. Hearing these words was nothing short of a bolt from the blue for me. I unilaterally deleted all contact information with Alvin. The rival of my parents' company was an old man. Seeing our family business in precarious danger, he wanted to acquire our company. My parents never agreed, but he actually came up with the despicable idea of drugging me to force a marriage alliance between our families. In my dazed state, filled with despair, Alvin kicked open the hotel door and took me away, overwhelmed by grievance, pain, fear, and the joy of surviving the ordeal. I lost all reason and slept with Alvin. When I woke up the next morning, Alvin proposed marriage to me. Although my mind wasn't fully clear yet, I still knew that what happened between me and Alvin was just a one-night stand. Who gets married after a one-night stand? But before I could voice my refusal, Alvin said, "You slept with me, and now you don't want to take responsibility." Such a heavy accusation made me feel like a complete jerk. Plus, with Alvin's unfairly handsome face that could make both gods and mortals jealous, I agreed right away. After marriage, Alvin started working at my father's company. He successfully turned the tide and expanded my father's business, making it stronger and more prosperous. Every time my parents see Alvin, they are incredibly pleased, treating him even better than their own daughter. Alvin's integrity and self-discipline have made him the epitome of a good man in our social circle, and I have become the envy of many. Although there were many issues when Alvin and I got married, I still longed for a sweet and happy life with Alvin. However, his decade-long indifference made me realize that my hopes were nothing but wishful thinking. So I proposed a divorce. But why Alvin's inner thoughts could be so shocking that they completely made my worldview different. If he loves me, why didn't he say it? Could it really be as the boys in our senior year class said? Alvin is a pretentious jerk. When I woke up the next morning and came to the living room, I found Alvin hadn't left for work yet. I glanced at the wall clock and noticed it was already 8:40. At this time, Alvin would usually have left by now. Alvin casually said as if nothing was wrong. Awake. Come have breakfast. Alvin was acting a bit unusual, although his tone was as usual. I noticed he kept rubbing his cuffs after saying this, showing a barely noticeable nervousness. I slowly ate my breakfast. Suddenly, I said, Alvin, don't you want a divorce? Alvin immediately replied, of course not. What should I do if my wife finds out I don't want a divorce? Of course I don't want a divorce. I'd rather die than divorce. And even more so while alive. Why hasn't my wife forgotten about the divorce all night? Woo-woo. I don't want a divorce. I was Alvin a bit embarrassed by the repeated calls of wife in my heart. But it also made me more certain that Alvin wasn't as indifferent as he appeared on the surface. Oh, I was going to say if you don't want to leave, then forget it. Alvin's calm expression showed a crack, and I could see his regret without even looking closely. What did I just say? I want to kill myself. Does my wife really think I want to divorce her? She misunderstood me. Woo-woo. Does my wife really not want me anymore? I pouted. Anyone normal would think you want a divorce from what you said. But I'm truly soft-hearted. I can't let go of such a long-standing relationship. Besides, Alvin has only been distant towards me. But he's never wronged me. He's always respected me. After accidentally hearing his inner thoughts, I decided to give myself another chance. Alvin, all these years we've never truly understood each other. Since we're about to divorce anyway, why don't we open up and have a real conversation? Yeah, he. My wife wants to get to know me. I was speechless for a moment. Alvin, did you ever like me? Straight to the point. If Alvin doesn't admit it, all the following questions would be meaningless. Alvin pursed his lips repeatedly, wanting to say something but seemingly caught in an internal struggle. Alvin, ask me one more time. Do you like me? Perhaps the disappointment and expectation in my eyes were too piercing. Alvin struggled to speak. Edith, I love you. Finally said it. But my wife doesn't seem too happy. Could my wife think my feelings are a burden? Woo-woo. I froze for a moment. Alvin spoke in a low voice, as if merely recounting a perfectly normal matter. Yet his inner voice seemed relieved, as though breaking free from some constraint. It seems I've never truly taken the time to understand him. Then why have you been so distant with me? Alvin looked confused, as if he didn't understand the words. You only know how to work every day. You never spend time with me. Don't say that working at home after office hours counts as spending time with me. And for my birthday and all kinds of holidays, the gifts you give are always the same. You never tell me about your life either. As if we're not a married couple but just roommates living together. Alvin remained silent for a long time. Just when I thought he wouldn't speak, he opened his mouth. When we first got married, the company was very busy. I really didn't have time during that period. I know this. After all, reviving my parents' company wasn't an easy task. Alvin lost over 10 pounds during that period. Later, I invited you out for trips to relax a few times. But you refused. Oh, how did I refuse? I think there was such an incident. The first time was because my friend had a breakup and I needed to accompany her. The second time was because my studio landed a big project and I had to stay. The third time was when Alvin brought back a little kitten that I really liked, and I couldn't bear to leave it at home alone. Plus my roommate refused to take care of it. Alvin accepted my rejections calmly each time. But now I somehow feel Alvin must have been quite disappointed back then. When the topic of birthday gifts came up, Alvin suddenly seemed a bit tense. I made all those birthday gifts myself, and I carved different words on each one. Holy shit. So many necklaces and bracelets were all Alvin's own handiwork. Alvin never mentioned it. The first year, I even said the craftsmanship wasn't great and told Alvin not to buy jewelry from that store again. An awkward atmosphere began to spread between the two of us. Why isn't my wife talking to me anymore? Does she not trust me? Is the gift I made really that ugly? I should have just bought a ready-made one. Am I really going to lose my wife? I can't accept this. There must still be a way to fix this. Alvin's inner voice played in my ears like 3D surround sound. I never would have imagined Alvin's inner world could be as sensitive as a little girl's, even more prone to overthinking than I was during my most obsessed Alvin phase. Then why have you never told me your thoughts? That's what I cared about most. Alvin's pupils trembled slightly, and the speed at which he rubbed his sleeves quickened, revealing his extreme inner turmoil. Alvin said with a tone of resignation, as if having made some resolution, "Edith, I'm sick. I didn't mean to hide it from you. It's over. It's over. My wife will definitely look down on me. I'm not a normal person. My wife likes the outstanding Alvin. She definitely wouldn't want someone with psychological barriers like me. Oh, my wife didn't want me in the first place. Now she'll want me even less." Alvin, I can hear every word clearly, but when they're strung together into a sentence, I just don't understand what it means. Clearly Alvin looks so healthy and normal. How could he be sick? Is he lying to me? No, Alvin never lies. Perhaps my look of surprise and doubt was too obvious. Alvin said in a resigned tone, "I have alexithymia. I've been seeing a therapist, but the doctor says I'm much better now." As he spoke these words, Alvin seemed to let out a sigh of relief. Ignoring my astonishment, he continued on his own. "I know I'm not good at expressing emotions. My silence and coldness have caused you much suffering in our marriage. I want to change, but it's really so hard. Every time I try to say I love you, my heart races and I feel like I can't breathe." Span. Only then did I notice that Alvin's body was actually trembling slightly. "Then, why didn't you tell me?" I struggled to speak. Alvin smiled self-deprecatingly. "Edith, in this marriage, the only asset I have to keep you is being an excellent Alvin. If I become imperfect, I'll have nothing left to rely on. You're beautiful, passionate, come from an excellent family, and have countless friends around you. I'm sure more than once. Your friends have said things like I'm not good enough for you. Indeed, many people advised me to just have fun with Alvin and not take it too seriously. Your liking me feels like winning the lottery to me. But I also know I'm not worthy of you. I'm just a poor guy, dull and lacking charm. If you ever grow tired of me, I wouldn't even know how to keep you. If it weren't for that accident, I might never have had the chance to marry you." I saw deep insecurity in Alvin, completely different from his dignified and handsome appearance in public. "I'm also selfish and malicious. I knew I wasn't good enough for you. Yet I still wanted to bind you with marriage. Each time, I comforted myself by thinking I'd tell you how much I love you once I recovered from my illness. But I know you dislike waiting the most." At this point, Alvin's voice had grown hoarse, as if he were crying. "Edith, would you like an imperfect Alvin?" Alvin's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, his face tense with nervousness. "Have you ever given me the chance to know an imperfect Alvin? How do you know I only like a perfect Alvin?" Alvin's eyes sparkled with dazzling brilliance. For the first time, he actively held me tightly, as if wanting to meld me into his very bones and blood. "Alvin, I'm giving you one chance to let me know the real you. Don't hide anything from me anymore." "Yeah, whoa. My darling still wants me. My darling is so good. I can't live without my darling. Wife, my kind and beautiful wife, my sweet and soft wife. I want to be my wife's dog for the rest of my life." "That's really not necessary." Alvin said he wanted me to understand him, and he really started to change. In the morning, we usually finish breakfast and each go about our own work. He heads to the company, and I go to my studio. Alvin left for work as usual this morning, but lingered at the entrance for a long time, hesitating several times as if wanting to say something. I couldn't take it anymore. "What do you want?" he said slowly. "They say that two people in love always share a good morning kiss. Can you give me one?" Alvin appeared calm on the surface, but his ears were already red beyond belief, and his fingers kept fidgeting with his cuffs. No wonder I felt Alvin was acting so strange today, his gaze repeatedly drifting to my lips. "Oh, I hope my darling doesn't find me annoying, but I really want a good morning kiss from them. If others have it, I want it too. Will my wife agree to my request? Am I being too unreasonable? Making such an outrageous demand on the very first day? Whoa. My wife is definitely going to reject me. Can't let Alvin keep overthinking like this, or he'll end up making himself depressed." I walked over, stood on tiptoe, and kissed the corner of his mouth. Alvin was visibly stunned for a moment before an irrepressible joy spread across his face. Just as I was about to let go of him, Alvin suddenly wrapped his arm around my waist and deepened the kiss. He didn't release me until I was nearly out of breath. This is Alvin's first time actively kissing me outside of bed, which feels like a whole new experience to me. "Focus on your work. Don't think about anything else. I'll be waiting for you at home." His eyes sparkled as he nodded vigorously. "My wife is just too amazing. She actually kissed me. I'm so happy I could faint. Was it really this simple to say it out loud? I stood at the door, watching Alvin walk away, noticing the lightness and excitement in his steps. I remembered what the psychologist I consulted yesterday had said. Alexithymia is generally caused by a lack of recognition and frequent suppression during childhood, often stemming from parents. Alvin rarely talks about his parents in front of me. At first, I thought he didn't want me to interfere too much in his life. But now, upon closer reflection, the few times he did mention his parents, there was a faint sense of irritation and disgust in his eyes. It's hard for me to imagine Alvin being so severely suppressed in his childhood that it led to his current severe alexithymia. Alvin's inner voice tells me he loves me deeply, yet he dares not speak it aloud, fearing rejection and indifference like in his childhood. I say I love Alvin, but I've never truly understood him. I've failed in this too. Giving Alvin a chance is also giving myself one. Alvin's transformation is happening in a remarkably visible way. I told him not to force himself, that we could take it slow. I don't want to make you wait for me anymore. He said this calmly, but there was a lot going on inside him. A man who makes his wife sad is no good man. I've hurt my wife's feelings for so long. I can't keep making the same mistakes. My wife generously gave me another chance, and I must make the most of it. I often feel very amazed. Alvin's inner voice is always full of emotion. He constantly expresses his love for me. Yet Alvin comes across as calm and composed. Perhaps this is the meaning behind me hearing Alvin's inner voice. It gave us a chance to save our marriage. Fate made Alvin have alexithymia, yet allowed me to hear his thoughts. How can this not be called a match made in heaven? Alvin has changed a lot. For example, during his lunch break at work, he would call me to say he misses me. After work, he would deliberately buy a bouquet of flowers or a small cake to bring home. During meals, he would pick out dishes that I like to eat. At night, he would come over and hug me while I was watching TV dramas. I'm really enjoying Alvin's these changes, which have reignited new expectations for this marriage. But there's one aspect that makes me feel Alvin has changed a bit too drastically. When I came out of the bathroom after showering and drying my hair, Alvin was already sitting on the bed, and his gaze turned to me the moment I appeared. My wife smells so good, like a peach. I want to take a bite. I really want to pounce on my wife, but I'm afraid of scaring her. That mole on my wife's collarbone is so sexy. I want to lick it. My steps toward the bed paused slightly as I looked with a complicated expression at Alvin, who was sitting on the bed with a serious demeanor. How come I never noticed before that Alvin was this kind of person? When we first got married, I thought Alvin was a monk, able to remain unmoved despite being with such a beauty like me every day. Later, it was me who couldn't resist Alvin's charm and took the initiative again. That time, Alvin still didn't. Wait, Alvin actually had a nosebleed that time, but he explained it was due to internal heat. Now that I think about it, could it have been a different kind of heat? Why hasn't my wife come over yet? I want to hug her. How many times will my wife let me do it tonight? My wife seemed to really like that position we tried last time. Should we do it again today? But she seemed to cry a lot. Alvin's thoughts are getting more and more outrageous, and an uncontrollable heat rises to my face. I feel like my brain has been turned to mush by Alvin's blunt and obscene words. I can't take it anymore. Alvin, what's going on in your head? I yelled at him. Alvin was visibly stunned. Am I being that obvious? My wife noticed. My wife seems a little angry, but even when she's angry, she's still so adorable. I just want to pinch her cheeks. I take a deep breath. How did I not realize before Alvin was such a pervert? It must have been hard for him to hold back for so long. Go to sleep. No more thinking about anything else. Before turning off the lights, I didn't miss Alvin's look of disappointment. The corner of my mouth curled into a smile. Alvin was even more vivid with desire. Alvin was going to a class reunion and asked if I wanted to come. I pretended not to care and asked, so is the whole class going? Yeah, including your class monitor Diana. Alvin has become very sensitive to my emotions now. You don't like Diana? Since he asked, I won't pretend. Yes, I don't like her. Back then, everyone in your department thought you two were a perfect match, that I couldn't compare to her in anything except for having a bit of dirty money. Every time she saw me, she acted all fake and sweet. I really can't stand her. Alvin pursed his lips. Then I won't go. Although I was quite pleased with Alvin's attitude, I didn't actually want to stop Alvin from attending the class reunion. So I waved my hand. It's fine now. You're already mine, and I'm not afraid of her trying to steal you away. But if she still acts all fake and sweet in front of me this time, you have to stand up for me. Okay. I'm so happy. My wife said I'm hers. As for Alvin, I now have some understanding of his love-struck mentality. The main point I was making was clearly to have him stand up for me. But what he latched onto was me saying he's mine. On the day of the class reunion, I deliberately dressed down. As expected, when Alvin and I entered the private room, some people's eyes flashed with admiration, others with envy. Alvin, you're finally here. We were just talking about you. You've really made a name for yourself now. This must be Edith from Beijing Arts. Right. You two actually ended up together. You two are truly enviable. The crowd showered Alvin and me with compliments. Having been in society for a few years now, Alvin's current status is worlds apart from theirs. I noticed a girl nearby looking at me with jealousy and resentment in her eyes. No surprise. It was Diana. Diana flashed a big smile when she saw me looking at her. But no matter how you looked at it, it felt grating. Edith put in a lot of effort chasing Alvin back then. I've never seen someone so persistent. No matter how cold Alvin acted, she'd still cling to him. This damn green tea bitch. Throwing shade at me for being thick-skinned. I thought someone like Edith, a rich girl, was just playing around with Alvin. But it turns out Edith was serious after all. So you're saying I'm promiscuous and a player? Huh. Oh, I really envy Edith. She was born with everything, relying on her parents in the first half of her life and her husband in the second half. What a lucky fate. Diana said these words in a joking tone. But none of the sharp people present failed to notice her sarcastic jab at me. The same few people who don't like me are still echoing Diana's words. The atmosphere in the room turned cold. With my usual temperament, I would have already scolded Diana. But today, I'm waiting for Alvin to speak up. Diana, is your current life not going well? Why so much resentment? Diana widened her eyes in shock, likely not expecting Alvin to speak up for me. Edith falling for me is my honor. We got together in college. She didn't pursue me. I was the one who clung to her. As for the times I gave her the cold shoulder, it was because she smiled at other guys. I'm a jealous person, and if I could really keep Edith, I'd be overjoyed. But Edith has her own career. She's even more outstanding than I am. That's why I work so hard to manage the family company, just so Edith won't abandon me. Alvin's words not only shocked everyone present but also left me, the person involved, utterly stunned. Diana's expression shifted repeatedly at Alvin's words before finally darkening as she snapped. What does your lovey-dovey act have to do with me? The two of us naturally have nothing to do with you. But you need to apologize to Edith. What you just said was very harsh. Why should I apologize to her? Diana shouted. What you just said was very harsh. Seeing the tense atmosphere, everyone stepped forward to persuade Diana to apologize. Class monitor, what you said earlier was quite harsh. Why don't you just apologize? Yeah, those words of yours were really hurtful. Diana lost her temper on the spot. Do you even realize this is our class reunion? And you're pressuring me to apologize for an outsider. I pretended to be innocent and said, didn't you say we could bring family members? Just because you're single, you can't stand seeing others in pairs. At this point, everyone's expressions had turned quite unpleasant. After all, many had come specifically for Alvin, hoping to establish a connection with Alvin. With Diana acting like this, if they offended me, they would also be offending the whole family. Thus, people's words began to turn less polite. Diana never expected to find herself becoming the target of everyone's criticism. Her chest heaved with anger as she glared at me, then grabbed her bag from the table and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Diana's departure completely ruined this class reunion. Before long, the reunion disbanded. Back home, I sat by the bed and said to Alvin, I think I ruined your class reunion. It's okay. They're not as important as you. Lately, it seems rare to hear Alvin's inner thoughts. Only when Alvin gets very emotional can a few words be glimpsed. However, compared to before, Alvin has been speaking more. The psychologist said his condition has improved significantly and he can now communicate normally. You said at the class reunion that we were together in college. But how come I didn't know about it? That's what I believed. When you came to me with the acceptance letter from Beijing Art Institute in our senior year of high school, I decided we were together. I laughed uncontrollably. Alvin, you're such a closet romantic. Only when I stopped laughing did I notice Alvin looking at me with a resentful gaze. Can't laugh anymore. Otherwise Alvin will start overthinking again. Then why did you suddenly ignore me in the second semester of junior year? The department advisor wanted me to pursue graduate studies, but I knew your family's company was having issues, so I refused. However, the advisor told me there was a department project at the time that, if participated in, had a chance to connect with XX Corporation. I wanted to help you, so I signed up for that project. I never imagined this was the reason. Alvin actually did so much for me. Do you regret not pursuing further studies? I heard from your classmates that you were your advisor's favorite student. If you had continued, you might have achieved great things. Alvin finished his work and came over to hug me. No regrets. I told you, you're the most important to me. Alvin has been spouting sweet nothings one after another since he became more expressive. In a daze. I even feel like Alvin and I are in the honeymoon phase. But now, it's no different from the honeymoon phase. I was so happy that I kept squirming in his arms. And only when I felt something pressing against me did I realize I might be stirring up trouble. I looked up and met Alvin's deep gaze as he said in a hoarse voice, "Can we go to sleep now?" Of course. It wasn't sleep in the literal sense. I quickly slipped out of his embrace and straightened my clothes. There's one last question. When I was set up, how did you find me? I suddenly realized I couldn't reach you on your phone. When I went to your school, they said you'd taken leave to go home. I was always afraid you might abandon me. So I went to our parents and asked where you'd gone. They seemed to already know about my identity back then. After I pleaded with them, Dad gave me your new contact information, but I still couldn't reach your phone. So I asked a friend to track your location. Alvin said it so casually, but I knew how difficult it must have been for Alvin at that time. He suffers from alexithymia, so it was already quite difficult for him to go to my parents and ask about my whereabouts. He casually mentioned finding a friend, but I know the process was also very tough for him. Alvin, if we had really divorced last time I mentioned it, would you have been very sad? No, we won't get divorced. He said it with certainty, and I found it amusing. Do you really think I don't know that you lied about losing my ID card? That lie was so fake. I never intended to deceive you. Then how can you be so sure we won't get divorced? Because you're soft-hearted. I actually left my medical report in the study. If you'd seen it, you wouldn't have had the heart to divorce me. But I never thought I'd be the one to tell you myself. Alvin said with certainty. I fell silent. Alvin knew me well. If I hadn't heard Alvin's inner thoughts and had accidentally discovered his medical report, I wouldn't have had the heart to divorce him either. I would feel heartbroken. Alvin came over and hugged me, his lips kissing my exposed skin. Edith, don't mention divorce again. I can't take it. He laid me down on the bed, his voice hoarse. We should go to sleep. Extra. Alvin, I was a child who wasn't liked by my parents from a young age. My mother gave birth to me with the intention of keeping my father around. So he resented me. They had constant arguments and verbal abuse every day. As a child, I thought if I was just good enough, they would eventually like me. So I tried my best to do everything well, just hoping to receive a word of praise from them. But I never got it. I gradually stopped seeking their affection. I didn't see any problem with this, because then I wouldn't be disappointed either. When I was 17, they finally divorced, and I was abandoned, alone, with a large sum of money they gave me. I transferred to a school near my grandmother's place. There, I met Edith. She was a radiant and vivacious girl, so dazzling that I couldn't even bring myself to look at her. Yet she told me she liked me and wanted me to be her boyfriend. My first reaction was anger, thinking she was teasing me, but that was quickly followed by disbelief and joy. Edith likes me. I can't even earn the affection of my own biological parents. How could I possibly gain the favor of the son? So I refused. Don't indulge in unrealistic dreams. But who could really refuse Edith? So I said those words about Peking University to her. As I spoke those words, countless thoughts flashed through my mind. I had 10,000 seemingly justifiable reasons, telling myself I just wanted to persuade her to give up, to stop wasting her efforts pursuing someone as cold-blooded as me. Only I knew the truest thought in my heart was pleading for Edith to try one more time for me. Edith was indeed stunned, and she never came back to school the following semester. I knew those people in the class were laughing at me, which I didn't really care about. But seeing Edith's empty desk filled me with a tinge of regret and melancholy. But all my passion had been extinguished by these 3 years of cold marriage. I can't describe how I felt at that moment, but it was as if a beam of sunlight had pierced through a dark, damp, rainy room. I felt countless tiny electric currents running through my body, making me tremble all over. Edith chattered in my ear. painting a picture of the future. At that moment, I felt life was truly beautiful. After entering university, Edith would come to see me whenever she had time. Those were the most wonderful days of my life. I want to grow old with Edith. For the first time, I confronted my inner struggle, alexithymia, and sought help from a psychologist. The psychologist told me I was severely ill and would need long-term treatment. I wanted to tell Edith that it's not that I don't love her, but that I'm sick. Yet I feared Edith might only love the perfect Alvin, and I was afraid Edith would reject me. But deep down, I knew Edith wasn't that kind of person. But in this relationship, I was always the one receiving charity, too anxious about gains and losses. Marrying Edith so early was something I never expected. When I carried Edith out of the hotel, the joy of having her back overwhelmed me. When Edith clung to me, I could have pushed her away, but I didn't. I did it on purpose. I shamelessly used this incident to marry Edith. I am very happy after marriage, but I know Edith is longing for my love. I am trying very hard to receive treatment, and I want to tell Edith how much I love her as soon as possible. Edith telling me about the divorce felt like the sky was falling to me. Later, I lied to Edith that I would use my illness to gain her sympathy to avoid the divorce. But I didn't tell her that if this didn't work, I might resort to extremely irrational behavior. But fortunately, Edith was soft-hearted enough that we didn't reach that point. I can't live without Edith. She is my one and only. The end.